I'm Kate, and today we're going to begin a tutorial series making a large and accommodating backpack that you're going to love for all the style and practicality. Welcome to the SallieTomato YouTube channel. If you're new to sewing or enjoy sewing a variety of projects, be sure to hit the notification and subscribe buttons to stay up to date on our latest patterns. We're really excited to introduce this pattern. It's a collaboration with the incredible designer Tula Pink. It's a perfect showcase for Tula Pink's fabric and exclusive Tula Pink hardware. This design provides all the room you might need for a full work week or a weekend getaway. This generously sized backpack features a magnetic snap flap that covers the drawstring top closure for extra security. A coordinating buckle pocket flap conceals the front pocket. The side zipper pockets are cleverly shaped to provide extra room without looking bulky. You're sure to appreciate the adjustable padded shoulder straps located on the back. And don't forget the interior padded slip pocket and interior zipper pockets. During this first tutorial, you'll learn how to shape flaps, attach stabilizer, magnetic snaps, and foam, prepare and attach buckles, as well as assemble and attach the front pocket, prepare both flaps, and attach the pocket flap. The finished size of the Tula backpack is 13.5 inches wide, 18.5 inches high, and 8 inches deep. This pattern was inspired by Tula Pink's love of details and functionality, clip-on accessories, and a place to use her beautiful fabrics and signature hardware. Before we get started, be sure to grab a pattern. See the description below this video and follow the link to access the pattern information. We encourage you to shop local whenever you can. All the supplies you need are listed on the back of the pattern. The Tula backpack pattern is suitable for woven fabrics such as quilt cotton, canvas, denim, or linen for the main fabric, and non-woven fabrics such as faux leather, cork fabric, microsuede, or other non-wovens for the contrast. The pattern is noted as a level 4. That doesn't mean it's difficult. It's just been designated as a level 4 because it's a very large project. It has lots of different pockets, including a curved zipper closure, also different hardware. We have buckles incorporated, flaps, several interior pockets. But don't worry, I know you can do this. Once you decide on your fabrics, gather your pattern and supplies, then cut out the pattern pieces following all the pattern instructions, and let's begin. I think you're going to find it really helpful to use either piece labels or mark on the back wrong side of your fabric pieces the name or designation for each piece, just to help identify, because there are so many pieces in this project that any labels will be helpful to keep track. So I have all the pieces cut. We have main fabric. I also have contrast fabrics cut, and as I went along, just use the same piece label for multiple pieces, the same size, just in the different fabrics. That helped keep them all together. Foam is included. Here you see we have interfacing already fused to our various pieces, just to save a little time. Lining, we have a really colorful lining. And remember, this backpack has a lot of different features and pieces, so it's a really fun pattern to do a scrappy look. You can use coordinating fabrics and really have a fun finished item. We'll move some of these out of the way. Here we have the mesh with the fold over elastic and stabilizers. I have a heavy stabilizer that I prefer to use. You may opt of a lighter weight stabilizer. It will help support the bag as well. And then we have pieces, again, labeled so we can keep track of those. we have our zippers and the beautiful selection of hardware. The first step is to fuse interfacing to your fabric pieces. You'll center and fuse the interfacing to the wrong side of coordinating main fabric pieces C, E, F, and G. Also, center and fuse interfacing to the wrong side of the coordinating lining pieces A, B, and I. If you've selected turtle text as either your lining or maybe even your part of your main fabric, you don't need to add interfacing to the turtle text. It has a coating on the wrong side, which acts as an interfacing already attached. On the wrong side of the contrast piece E, that's the top flap, position the corner shaping template A aligned to the bottom 11-inch edge at both corners. You'll trace the outer edge of the template from edge to edge and then cut along the marked lines to round the corners. You're going to repeat this same step to shape the bottom edge corners of the contrast piece F, that's the pocket flap, and your main pieces E and F as well. One quick note, if you have a directional fabric for your main fabric, you may want to just check and see which direction the print is going before you cut the rounded corners. When you open the flap, you'll see the main fabric. I've shaped the opposite corners so that my directional print will be proper direction when the flap is open, since it's acting as the lining of the flap. Now with wrong sides up, center the heavy stabilizer piece W over one foam piece A. This will be your back. This is such a large piece to hold in place. Try using basting spray, double-sided basting tape, or basting glue to hold the layers together. If you find that your basting tape isn't releasing the paper very easily from the tape, try rubbing with your finger. Sometimes the warmth of your finger will cause the tape to stick to the fabric or stabilizer, and then you can more easily peel away the paper backing. And then top stitch about 1/4 inch from all the edges of your stabilizer piece W. You're going to repeat this step, attaching the heavy stabilizer piece X to your foam piece I, that's for the base. On the wrong side of the foam piece A front, position 1/2 of each sew-in magnet centered down from the top edge and in from each side edge, and follow your pattern for the measurements. If you find it helpful, you can always draw or trace around the edge of the plastic of the magnet, and that will help. If the magnet shifts when you're at the sewing machine, you know exactly where to place it. And either tape or glue the magnet in place just temporarily. I like to use double-sided basting tape. It also helps me remember which side of the magnet is the attracting side, so I can double check. You may find it helpful to add a piece of scrap foam or another piece of foam underneath, holding the magnet a little distance away from the metal base of your machine. Just be sure to move the foam away from the sewing needle. Then, using a zipper foot or a very narrow foot, top stitch as close as possible to the magnet. Here's an example of marking and measuring. I marked and marked incorrectly. So thankfully this was foam, but word of wisdom, measure twice, mark or cut once. After stitching, you'll trim the excess plastic close to the stitching. And then on the wrong side of your main fabric piece E, that's the top flap, position the remaining 2 magnets. Again, follow your pattern for the measurements to place each magnet. These will be in from the long edge between the curved corners. With right sides up, align the bottom and long side edges of each main fabric piece A, that's your front and back of the exterior fabric, over one foam piece A. Remember, the wrong sides of pieces A have either a heavy stabilizer or magnets attached. Baste a 1/4 inch from the bottom and side edges. Don't worry, the foam is shorter than the main fabric, and the top edge of the fabric should extend beyond the foam, and this reduces the bulk when assembling the backpack in a later step. After you finish basting, trim away any excess foam without cutting into the stitches. With right sides up, align all the edges. You'll place these over the coordinating foam pieces and baste along all the outer edges of both main pieces B, those are your side panels, pieces D, that will be the shaped side pocket, and one pair of pieces G, those are your padded shoulder straps, and then also the contrast piece I, that is the base. And then you're going to mark center along the top and bottom edges of all the pieces A, B, and D. And then on the wrong side, mark center along all 4 edges of your piece I. That's going to be the base. On the wrong side of the contrast, piece M, that's your buckle connector. Mark vertical lines in from both long edges near the center of piece M. Then you'll mark horizontal lines in from each short end, creating a small rectangular box measuring about a 1/4 inch by a 1/2 inch. And remember, if you're using different widths of buckles, adjust the measurements so that the box opening remains the same, 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch measurement. Now cut out the box opening following your markings. You may find a precision cutting tool is very handy to get clean, crisp interior corners. And then at the sewing machine, you're going to top stitch around the box as well as along both long edges with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And you'll notice I'm using a very bright colored thread. Since I have a dark fabric, the bright color pink shows up hopefully a little better that you can see on the video, but certainly if you feel more comfortable using a top stitching thread that blends with your main fabric or your contrast fabrics, that keeps your top stitching a little more subtle. You'll begin and end the top stitching along those long edges in from the short ends, and then refer to your pattern for that specific measurement. This is an optional step, but if you'd like to add a sealed professional finish to the outer edges of your contrast fabric on these buckle attachments, be sure to visit our blog for a step-by-step tutorial. You're now going to thread piece M over each buckle crossbar, folding the wrong sides together and aligning the cut ends of the box. Add a small piece of basting tape to hold those layers together. Position one buckle connector on the main fabric piece C, that's the pocket front. You'll place the connector in from each side and then up from the bottom edge, keeping the buckle hardware towards the top edge. These connector raw edges will be aligned or parallel to the side and bottom edges of the pocket piece. At the sewing machine, top stitch close to the buckle and an 1/8 inch from the raw edges of each connector, creating a stitched box. Another design option is to top stitch an X within that stitched box for reinforcement. I'm going to skip that extra top stitching because I have such a beautiful basket weave faux leather. And here's another optional design choice. Install a metal handmade label centered between the buckle connectors above the long edge of your main piece C, that's the front pocket. I've already installed my label and I've fused a scrap of interfacing to the wrong side of the label. This helps prevent the prongs from rubbing against the lining fabric. And be sure to visit our YouTube channel for a video tutorial on installing metal handmade labels. With right sides together, align the main and lining fabric pieces C, this is for the front pocket, and sew together along the top and side edges using 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're leaving the bottom edge unsewn. Now turn the pocket right side out through the unsewn edge. And then shape the corners and press the seam edges. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and top stitch an 1/8 inch from the top seam edge. With right sides up, center the pocket up from the bottom edge of the main fabric piece A. That's your exterior front, and remember that has the sewn magnetic snaps. You can use pins to hold the side edges in place or narrow strips of basting tape. If your machine has a sewing table to add and expand the size of the sewing area, it may be very helpful, especially as we're working with very large pieces of fabric and larger units for the backpack. You'll top stitch an 1/8 inch from the sides of the pocket. You don't need to baste or sew the bottom edge of the pocket. It's going to be covered. Now let's move on to prepare the buckle straps. On the wrong side of each contrast piece L, this is your buckle strap, position the buckle strap template B, and that's found in your pattern, at one end. You'll trace the outer curved edge of the template, and then also, before removing the template, on the wrong side again of each piece L, mark and punch a hole centered at the short end of the template. You can certainly use a rotary punch or the mini fabric punch set to easily cut clean holes through the single layer of the buckle strap. You'll also cut along the marked lines to round one end of each piece L. Now, with wrong sides together, fold piece L, the buckle strap, in half, aligning the long edges, and meet the shaped end to the remaining straight short end of the buckle strap. You'll top stitch an 1/8 inch from the shaped raw edges. Then trim away the excess fabric following the curved end and punch a small hole through the remaining fabric layer. This is a great time to think about adding an edge paint to cover the raw edges of the buckle straps if you like that look. We're going to move on to preparing the top flap and the pocket flap. With right sides together, place the main fabric, piece E, this is your top flap, to the contrast piece E, aligning all the edges. And then at the sewing machine, sew along the side and bottom edge and curved corners with 3/8 inch seam allowance. You're going to leave the top straight edge unsewn. Take a few minutes to clip the curved corner seam allowances without cutting through the stitches. This is going to help reduce the bulk and give a nice smooth curve to your corner seams. You'll turn the flap right side out through the unsewn edge, and then use your fingers or a seam roller to smooth the seam edges. Back at the sewing machine, top stitch an 1/8 inch from the seam edges of the flap. You can set the top flap aside for a later step. Now we're going to move on to the pocket flap. With right sides up, position each buckle strap in from each short side edge of the contrast piece F, that's your pocket flap, and each strap fold should be up from the bottom shaped flap edge, and refer to your pattern for the exact dimensions. You're going to top stitch an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch from the strap fold edges, securing it in place. Now we're going to repeat the steps that we used for the top flap and assemble our pocket flap. Make sure to tuck the buckle straps inside the flap layers, keeping them out of the seam. When top stitching the pocket flap, be sure to move the straps that are extending out of the way. You don't want to top stitch over your buckle straps. On the right side of the main piece front, draw a horizontal line up from the bottom edge and then in from each long side. You'll place the pocket flap wrong side up, aligning the raw edge on the marked line. Then top stitch an 1/8 inch from the raw edge of the pocket flap. This is where a bit of washi tape comes in handy. You can stitch through it and then easily tear it away after the sewing is completed. Now fold the flap down and top stitch again, this time 3/8 inch from the fold edge, keeping your buckle straps out of the way as well. This is a great time to test how the buckle straps fit with the buckles. If you find you want to add an extra hole in your buckle strap, now is a perfect time to do that. Just keep the hole centered and an even distance from the first hole. I hope you're pleased with the progress that you've made today, learning how to make the Tula backpack. If you have any questions or comments, suggestions for the pattern, please leave a comment below, share and show off your photos of your in-process project. We'd love to see your progress. Use the hashtag SallieTomato and Tula Backpack on social media so we can see it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future tutorials or creative videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the second tutorial in this series. Until then, have a great making day.